Well, hey guys, I assigned a problem last week when we were looking at precipitates, and I didn't realize it until now that it was actually a rather difficult problem. I was hoping that you could just read the information about the one solution to a problem and then figure this one out, but I can see where you would have problems. So let me give you the answer. So we have sodium iodide, which is an aqueous solution. That means it's a liquid. And then we have lead acetate over here, which is also aqueous or a liquid. And when those two are added together, we actually get lead iodide, which is a solid, and then we have this sodium acetate, which is a liquid. So we do indeed get a precipitate right here. If you remember back from our discussion of types of reactions, you'll see that this is a single replacement reaction. The sodium comes out of this and it's replaced by the lead. The lead comes out of the acetate and it's replaced by the sodium. Then the other part of the question was to balance this equation. So that's fairly easy to do because we see right here that there's two iodines in this compound, so we need a 2 here. In order, now that we have a 2 sodiums, we're going to need 2 down here. You'll notice that there's a 2 at the bottom of these parentheses, so that means we really have 4 carbons. Now we have 4 carbons. We have 6 hydrogens. Now we have 6 hydrogens. So the equation is now balanced. That's how you would solve that problem. The other half of that problem asked you to identify the ionic net equation. So the ions themselves are the iodine and the lead. So in this case, the iodine is aqueous, and the lead over here would actually be a solid, and you end up with lead iodine over here. And again, to balance that, we see that we have an I2 over here, so we need 2 of those guys, and we're also going to need 2 leads right here, and that doesn't quite give us enough, so we're going to need 2 here, and that actually makes 4 over here. Okay, so that is now balanced. So that's how you would answer that question. I'm going to have you read a little bit of material about density, and as you do that, after you've done that and taken notes, I am going to have you do some problem sets with density itself. So there's a worksheet that you will have a link to that I want you to complete. And the first thing that it asks you to do is similar to a worksheet that we did in class recently, where you're basically doing some math to figure out how to manipulate these formulas. We know that density is equal to mass divided by volume. So let me go back to my note page. Give me a second to flip the page here. So we know that density is mass divided by volume. So what would mass equal from this equation? Well, that's really easy to solve because all we have to do is put a 1 over this, and we can cross multiply. So we have 1 times m equals m, and then we have density times volume is equal to mass. We can do the same thing to figure out what volume would be equal to. So we could start with this one right here, and we would divide both sides by density. That would cross that off. That would leave us just volume. So volume is equal to mass divided by density. You'll need to know these 3 formulas to answer some of the questions on that worksheet. Okay, so that's an assignment for you this week as well. The third thing I'm going to have you do is begin to learn about the crime case study that we're going to do. There's a link to 4 PDF pages that look like this. This is called the case of Kirsten K, and we're going to do the cooler investigation first. Even though it says delivery truck, we're going to do the cooler evidence investigation. Get ready for that on next week. So you need to read the background information that's provided in the PDF format. Then there are some questions that you can answer that I do want you to answer before you come to class. So for example, it asks you to come up with a hypothesis. Stick only to the cooler activity. Don't worry about the delivery truck. We'll do that one later. What about a procedure? One of the science and engineering practices is planning and carrying out an investigation. So I want you to think about what you need to do in terms of procedures to plan and carry out an investigation, and actually write those steps either in your notebook, or if you want to print this page and bring it with you next week, do that, because that will help us in our investigation when we get to class next week. Look over the calculations page. You won't be able to actually do the calculations until we've done the activity in class. But you can begin to look at these problems, these questions, so you'll have an idea of where we're headed next week. So that's it. Be sure to take a look at the discussion area, because I am going to have you share some of your ideas about the case as you are thinking through that. And we'll do that in the discussion area. Okay? I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.